stuck to her neck and flushed face. Her doe-brown eyes were wide as they shifted toward him. She was a tough kid, but she was still a kid, and right now she looked younger than her 12 years. "I think we just went off the intended track," Carl muttered. "Yeah, but much more of the intended track, and we were going to destroy both vehicles." John released his death grip on the handle and dropped his foot back to the ground. "I don't like this." Carl's knuckles were white as he leaned forward to peer over the steering wheel. His battered Red Sox hat was pulled low over his watery gray eyes in an attempt to block the sunlight. The tips of his light brown hair curled around the edges of the cap. The lines in his weathered face appeared deeper as he frowned at the road. "I don't like any of this either, but what choice do we have? The river cut us off from the highway, and the road was barely passable." John leaned forward as they entered into a small town he'd never been to before. Buildings had collapsed in on themselves. The sidewalks had cascaded upward in what reminded him of some sort of demented domino game. Trees, uprooted by the upheaval of the sidewalks, were tumbled haphazardly into the street. In front of them, Al pulled the car onto the sidewalk as he sought to avoid the toppled trees cluttering the roadway. John had become so used to the chaos, destruction, and crunching of animal and bird bones beneath the tires of the truck, it took him a while to notice the complete stillness surrounding them. His eyes darted over the broken buildings and sidewalks in search of any sign of life. He could see the smoke smoldering on the horizon, but at least he didn't see leaping flames or the reddish glow of lava anymore. He leaned closer to the windshield. All the towns they'd gone through had been relatively quiet, but nowhere near this quiet. There was no one wandering the streets, no one passing in vehicles, nothing to mark there had actually been people living within this town. "Carl?" "I know." "Where is everyone?" Rochelle inquired. John strained to see into the windows of the buildings still standing, but curtains and blinds blocked his view, and the rest were covered in dirt or ash or some other dark substance obscuring the glass. Most of the buildings appeared to be commercial, but a few of them had apartments over them. There were bars and restaurants mixed in with hardware stores, jewelry stores, and a Dunkin' Donuts. Saliva filled his mouth as they drove past the coffee place that had been his main staple of life since junior year in high school. He almost asked Carl to stop, but didn't have to as Al had parked on the broken sidewalk, and the three of them were already climbing out of the car. Riley stretched her back as Lee placed his gun on the roof of the car and surveyed the empty coffee shop. Apparently they were as much of a coffee addict as he was. Except, he realized, they weren't staring at the coffee shop like he was. He felt like an idiot as he climbed out of the truck and followed their gazes to the small convenience store nestled in between a pharmacy and a liquor store entitled Franklin Liquors. Well, at least he knew what town they were in now, though it did him little good as he had no knowledge of this area of the state. "It doesn't look like that store has been raided yet, and I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather be over-prepared than under." Al nodded toward the small convenience store as he strolled over to join them. "Plus, that car is tough on a person's body." "You can say that again," Lee muttered. "Are you sure this is where you want to stop?" Rochelle inquired as she glanced nervously around the deserted streets. "No, but do you want to pass up the opportunity? We may not get another one." Al rubbed his chin thoughtfully as he eyed the store. His blue eyes were sharp behind his glasses, and for an older guy he had a surprisingly full head of gray hair. His face was lined, but they were the softer lines acquired by age and not the deeper lines etched by a lifetime of hardship. "That pharmacy will have medical supplies we'll need too. We can check it out after the convenience store." John eyed the brick-fronted building. Rochelle stood close to his side as she shifted uncomfortably and studied the street. "I don't like this one little bit," Riley said. "Well, from the look of things, at least Franklin won't be able to beat you in the softball tournament again this year," Lee teased as he elbowed her lightly in the side. Riley scowled at him. "I'm going to aim for your leg," she told Lee as she stepped off the broken sidewalk and onto the street. John bit his inner cheek to keep from laughing. Spunky and cute, he thought as he watched her creep across the street with Al and Carl close to her side. He wondered if Lee was her boyfriend, as he questioningly surveyed the surfer-looking guy with sun-bleached hair and deep blue eyes. "Are you going to stay here?" he asked Rochelle. "Hell no," she retorted. "I've seen enough scary movies to know the rules. There is no way I'm..."